How's it going, saxophone players? I'm going to do a video for you here today on thoughts that will help you for improvisation. At least it helped me. And so if you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe it. So let's get right into it. Now, improvisation is something that some people grasp right away. And they do it and they can play a solo up in front of their band. And people think it's really cool that they can play without music. Other people are clueless as to how it even works and always need music written down in front of them. And other people seem to think that they can just throw a bunch of random notes out there and call it improvisation. And I've talked to lots of different musicians about it, and I've seen lots of different musicians react to an improvised solo. So I've seen everything from beginning to end with what I've just explained to you and everything in between. But there is a right way and a wrong way to think of improvisation. Now, first of all, you want to be developing a tone concept for yourself. So whatever instrument you are studying and learning, be sure and get yourself an understanding of how to develop your tone with it. I've already done a tone video for saxophone. And another important concept for improvisation is memory work. Try and memorize as much as you can. It's improvising in music should be just like talking. It's just like Stevie Wonder said in Sir Duke, music is a language. So when it comes to playing music or improvising in music, it should just be like talking. You know, nobody walks around reading off of cue cards every day. They can just talk. And so conceivably, the same concept should work for playing an instrument. Now, because you've got thousands of words memorized, you want to learn to recognize what would be a word for a musical idea, and then you can begin to construct sentences and phrases accordingly. So the first concept that I think that really helped me was understanding exactly what a major scale is. Now, again, memorize your major scales. You don't have to memorize them all at once, but let's say you memorize your G major scale, which has one sharp. So all the notes are natural except for the F. You sharp the F. So you got. Now that's only one octave. It goes without saying for serious students that you should practice with a metronome and learn that scale completely up and down the full range of your instrument. And be able to do that at various different tempos and rhythms and ideas like that. Now, the major scale consists of two sequences of notes, two patterns of notes that are stacked on top of each other. The lower pattern is just, then you go up a whole step and you get. Now, the tone of G sets something up in the listener's mind and in your mind that causes those other notes to relate to it specifically. They want to move to, or they will sound out in a very specific way that relates to that G. So after the G you get the A, and that A should feel like it wants to fall back to G. Now if you play from the G up to the B, the B is stable but not quite as stable as the G and wants to go back to the G, or it can just stay there, but really everything wants to go back to the G. And then when you go to the C, or the fourth, that just has the sound like it wants to go somewhere. Either wants to go to the D, or any other note, or back to that G. Or wants to come back to the B and then go back to the G. Now when you go up to the D, you have that same pattern of notes, so the same sequence will occur. You have your D to your E, you have your F sharp, and then of course the G. Now the E, of course, wants to fall back to the D, or the D itself. I'm sorry, I skipped the D. The D itself just begs to go back to the G. back to the G. And the F sharp is called the leading tone, which is the 7th scale step. That 7th scale step should be pulling at your ears and indicating to you that it wants to go to the G. You hear how that pulls into that G. Now you want to develop within your own mind and within your own listening skill set the ability to hear those relationships, because the mathematics of the sound kind of indicate that they relate to each other that way, but realistically it's just the sound of the notes. It's just how they work. You hear it in every song that's going on. And jazz players can change, well, any great musician can change up those sound relationships and do creative stuff with it. But for the most part, it'll come back to that relationship, and you will hear that. So a good little tool that I'll play for you that will help you think it is... If you listen to that, you can kind of hear the relationships of those notes to the tonic or the G. And every major scale functions that way. A great tune that was written in regards to all those relationships is the solfege song, or do, a deer, a female deer, ray, a drop of golden sun, me, a name I call myself, and so on and so on. That's another one to listen to that will also clue your ears into that. Now, a great thing to do is just spend time by yourself listening constructively to those relationships. And the more you memorize, the better. If you can play your scales, or if you can play your chords, you want to spend time practicing, always listening for those relationships. And the slower you go, actually, the better. But of course, you're not going to spend all your practice time playing slowly. But you should spend some practice time going slowly, listening to those relationships. So if I play all the chords in that key, so you hear how that wants to fall back to the G. Now the B minor chord, so that's just pulling at your ears. It's pulling at my ears anyway, telling me it wants to go somewhere, it wants to be elaborated upon. Now the C chord. So that's a fairly stable sounding chord, because you also find it in the key of C. But because we've established the key of G, it's still indicating to my ears it wants to go somewhere, it wants to do something, or be elaborated upon. So now the 5 chord, the D chord, so if you throw that G in there, you can hear the resolution. Now the 6th chord, the E minor chord, it's a fairly stable sounding chord, but still it wants to relate to that G in a certain way. And then now you get a diminished chord, or if you throw in the 7th, it's a half diminished chord, that's the F sharp A C. So it's best now to think of that, think of these ideas, and try and always listen for them when you're practicing, when you're playing. And that's why songs start they usually start on the tonic, and if they don't start, they will come back to the tonic. But for the most part, a song will start in such a way that relates specifically to the tonic, or the 1 chord, so in this case G, and then it will begin to tell its story, and will flow through its chord progression and its melodic conception in such a way that it will come back to the tonic, which of course in this case a G. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Here's that one idea I was playing before. It just goes right up the scale stepwise. If you listen to it carefully, what I would recommend you do is learn it by ear. Don't worry about what the notes are, listen for them. Don't worry about what the notes are intellectually. Listen for them and then compare them to the G major scale. And that will help you listen to it and think about those notes. So hopefully this was beneficial for you. This is just the start. I plan on doing more videos to expand on all of this and bring more concepts and ideas for you for improvisation. So I'll leave you with a little improvisation. So hopefully someday, if you keep up your practicing and your playing, you'll be able to improvise and get into some good ideas like that. So again, thanks for taking the time to watch. I hope this video helped you. And don't forget to hit that like button if it did. And if you feel there's even more value in it for you, please subscribe. All right, thanks. Have a good day.